Hi there, this is Laura, and today we're going to be playing with some new products to create a couple of super fun interactive cards. The first one features a carousel with two moving horses. While one goes up, the other one goes down. That's why the die set that makes this possible and that I helped design is called the Interactive Up and Down Dynamics. As you can see, it has many elements, including a panel die, but it's really easy to assemble and offers so many possibilities. The standalone carousel dynamics allows you to create a gorgeous carousel with a bunch of decorative details, and a carousel horses stamp set and matching dies complete it. The critters from the hop, flip and jump set are hilarious and also go perfectly with the up and down mechanism. The first thing that we need to do is to punch a hole in the center of these two slits. So just grab a ruler and a pencil and go ahead and trace the diagonals. After that, we can grab a piercing tool or one of these 1/16 of an inch long reach hole punches and punch a little hole where the lines cross. Next, let's move on to the pull tab. Do you see this little embossed circle? That's where we need to glue one of the spin and slide discs with some strong liquid glue. I've previously sanded all of my discs so that the bond between the two materials will be stronger. Let's just hold it in place for a couple of seconds before we move on. I like to layer the elements that have to support the pressure of the mechanism with liquid glue, so I die cut a second pull tab and stamp the word pull on it. Now I'll just adhere them together to make it extra sturdy. Here's another important piece which I've already stacked so that it's ready to go. This T-shape will be connected to the card panel with a brad and will swivel back and forth. Okay, now we have to fold these 4 tiny rectangles in half and insert them in the slits. They have a little embossed line on them, so it's quite easy. I just slide it in place and push it down so that I can move on to the next piece, which goes right next to the first one. Like so. Now we have to do the same with the third and fourth pieces in the right slit. It's a little bit fiddly, especially if you have big hands like I do, but it's not difficult. The 4 pieces, now turned into 2, are going to slide along the slits, and so that they don't derail, we need to cap them with a circle on the back and a strip of tape on the front of the panel. So just add a little glue and make sure that the pieces are aligned before you add the circle and apply pressure on it. Be careful not to overdo it with the glue so that it doesn't get into the slit. The sliding elements should move effortlessly back and forth. After we've made sure that they do, we can flip the panel and add strong double-sided tape to the other side of our sliding elements. Here's where we'll attach our carousel horses in a moment. Okay, my video camera zoomed out just as I was inserting a brad in the hole of our panel. Now we can link the T-shape to it and fold down the prongs on the back. I'm wedging the pull tab in between so that the brad won't be gripping too tight. Let's try it out. It seems to be working fine, so we can move on. Now let's mark the center of our circles with a pencil so that we can glue some spin and slide elements to them. You can probably see where this is going, but before we move on, let's work on the sleeve of our pull tab. We just need to fold it, wrap it around our pull tab and glue the end either with score tape or liquid adhesive. I'm just using this Nuva Crystal Drops adhesive that was lying on my desk, but to adhere the sleeve to the panel I prefer double-sided tape. And the pull tab will go here. Once everything is in place, we need to glue the remaining circles to the spin and slide discs. They will act as caps so that the pieces won't slide off. Just apply glue and try to center the discs. Apply a couple of seconds of pressure and move on to the next one. Now we can adhere the pull tab sleeve in its place and we're almost finished. I'm holding it above the panel until I'm sure of the spot where it'll go, and only then I press down. I actually ended up moving it later on because there wasn't a lot of room for the foam tape. Okay, there we go. Now let's test the mechanism. Everything seems to be working smoothly. For this card, we're actually going to rotate the mechanism 180 degrees so that we have more room for our carousel. Yeah, so as I said, there isn't a lot of room for foam tape. Some of you just add a couple of thick foam dots in the corners of your interactive cards, and that's perfectly fine. But in this one, the pull tab needs a little bit of support. When we tested it earlier, it was showing on the upper edge of the panel. So we can actually grab a pair of scissors and trim tiny pieces of the legs of the T to have more room for the foam tape. Just be careful not to cut off too much. I also carefully moved the sleeve of the pull tab a little bit higher up for the same reason. And here's the panel with its 2 layers of foam tape almost ready to go. We just need to add a little piece that will act as a stop so that the pull tab can't be pushed too far. And when we've figured out how far we want it to go, we just adhere the strip flush to the edge of the pull tab. Okay, let's talk about measurements. The panel is 5 3/8 by 4 1/8. I also cut a top fold card base out of Summer Splash cardstock that measures 5 5/8 by 8 3/4, with a gold panel already glued to it, which is 5 1/2 by 4 1/4. All of this information can be found in the YouTube description box. Now we can finally adhere the main panel to our card base and start assembling our cute little carousel. And to save some time, I've already stamped, colored and die cut all of the elements. The reason why I added a gold panel is so that the slits will look more like poles, and in order to enhance the illusion, I die cut some embellishments out of gold cardstock backed with score tape. And you'll see in just a moment how these tiny details do make a difference. To add the pole for the middle horse, I just cut it in half and trimmed a piece so that it would be the same length as my other 2 fake poles. Let's see the mechanism in action one more time before I show you a couple of pictures of the finished card. I simply added a couple of matching star-shaped enamel dots and that's it. The other day I gave this card to a dear friend and she loved it. She said it totally took her down memory lane. Okay, let's move on to the next card featuring the Hop, Flip and Jump stamp set. I could play with it all day because these guys are hilarious. We're actually just going to have a quick look at the final assembly, since the mechanism is exactly the same as in our first card. The only thing that's different is the direction in which I stamped the word pull on the pull tab. I had a hard time choosing which critters to use since they are all so cute. I finally decided that the giraffe is a little bit too long for the left side, so I went with the lion and the rhino. I also decided to place the sentiment strip in the middle under the tiger. And here are a couple of pictures of the finished card. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you have any questions or feedback, just leave a comment and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you so much for stopping by.